Get started. My name is Samantha, and I am the Program Impact Manager for Olympic College Foundation. And essentially, I oversee the scholarship program. So I'm going to talk to you today about how to apply for scholarships and some general information about our scholarship program. And then we'll actually go through the applications, see what it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Give me just one moment. All right. So I'll just go over some of the basics about our scholarship program to start. Um, this academic year, 2025-2026, we awarded over 200 scholarships to OC students. The minimum award amount was $1,500 and the maximum award was $10,000. For the upcoming academic year, 2026-2027, we will be awarding over $500,000 in scholarships. There's a lot of different opportunities for students to get funding for their education. So our scholarships are open to all OC students who will be attending OC during the academic year the scholarships will be awarded. So for this current application cycle, that's people who will be attending OC during 2026, 2027. The only exception to that is students who will be in the Running Start program during 2026, 27. We aren't able to award scholarship funding to Running Start students at this time. Many of our scholarships are open to international students and out-of-state students. And you can apply every single cycle. So even if you've applied for funding in the past or you've received funding in the past, you're eligible to apply for scholarships during this cycle. And even if you aren't eligible for receiving any state or federal aid, maybe you're not receiving any Pell funding or Washington College Grant funding or any other funding, that doesn't mean you're not going to be eligible for scholarship funding. And even if you are receiving those types of funding to cover your tuition, scholarships can also be used towards funding your other costs of attending school, like buying books or helping with transportation and things like that. Scholarship applications are open now, and the deadline to apply is April 21st. These funding opportunities will be for this next upcoming academic year, like I said, 2026, 2027. There are over 70 different scholarships that we're screening for at this time, and many of them have more than one award. And we'll notify students in June. You'll be able to use your funding during fall, winter, and spring quarters of 26-27. But if you're planning to attend summer quarter and would like to use some of your funding then, you can reach out and ask for an adjustment of how your award is administered. We have a second scholarship cycle we call the fall scholarship cycle, which is open for applications mid-July through mid-September, and we notify students in November. That provides funding for winter and spring quarters of that academic year. And there's a smaller number of scholarships available in that cycle, usually about 20 opportunities. A lot of them are for students that are in a current OC healthcare program, like you're currently in a nursing program or LPN program or something like that, but not all of them. So it's still worth checking out those scholarship opportunities as well. Funds are all awarded via the OC Financial Aid Office. So they're entered into CTC Link the same way any of your other financial aid is input. Your scholarship funds will first go towards your tuition and fee balance if you have one. And then once your tuition and fees are paid for each quarter, any remaining scholarship balance can be released to you to spend via Bank Mobile refund. And that's something our financial aid office can go over in more detail with you if you haven't used Bank Mobile before. Funds are typically, like I said, distributed evenly between fall, winter, and spring quarters. But if you're attending summer quarter or maybe you're graduating before spring quarter, we can discuss making adjustments to how your scholarship is awarded. Some scholarships do have certain requirements that you have to maintain each quarter in order to be eligible for your funding. And we'll notify you of that when we notify you of any awards you've been selected for. Some might have a GPA minimum that you have to maintain each quarter, or might require that you enroll in a certain number of credits each quarter. You will never have to pay back any scholarship funds, but you might not be eligible to receive your next disbursement if you don't meet any of the requirements for your scholarship. All of your scholarship funds must be used within the current academic year. They're not going to carry over into the following year, and they must be used at OC. So if you plan to transfer to a different college or university, your scholarship funds won't go with you. One of the scholarships that we'll be screening for is the OC Promise Scholarship, which is more than just a scholarship. It's also a program that provides support services to students in their first year of college. Students eligible for OC Promise are high school seniors graduating from Bremerton High School and Olympic High School. There are up to 30 scholarships available per high school. Students have to maintain a GPA of 2.0 each quarter and enroll in 12 credits each quarter. And in addition to maintaining those general criteria, they also have to participate in monthly cohort meetings, workshops, and events that support their academic success. So if you or someone you know are graduating from Bremerton or Olympic high schools this year and have questions about the OC Promise program, feel free to reach out to me. We can talk about that in more detail. So how to apply for scholarships? It's one simple online application that matches you with all scholarships that you're eligible for and automatically applies you for them. So you don't have to read through 20, 30, 50 different scholarship criteria and choose which ones you want to apply for. You just fill out one application and you're done. You will need to know your CTC link number. You do have to be an enrolled student or an admitted student in order to complete your application. The application is a free online account, and we use self-reported information, and I'm going to go through what that looks like here momentarily. Some of the scholarships do have some next steps that you need to complete in order to be considered, so make sure that you follow up on any of those as we did, and I'll show you what that looks like when we get to the application. So when you go to log in, it's going to look like this. You can register for an account if you haven't applied before. If you have applied before and you don't remember your password, you can reset your password. I recommend that whatever email you use up here to create your account is one that you're going to be checking regularly, because this is the email we notify you of whether or not you're receiving any funds. And so you'll want to make sure it's one that you'll be able to keep checking in, June or so when we start notifying students. If you're a current high school student, we recommend not using your school email account because you'll lose access to that. So it can be a personal email, it can be your OC email, as long as it's one that you're checking regularly. When you get to the login page, you'll see your dashboard here that says complete application. You can see the application over here on the left. You can see apply or complete. Any of these buttons are going to take you to the application. You'll go through each of the sections here and complete the answers to the questions. If it says in progress, it means that you haven't completed one of the required sections of that application, and you have to finish that before you can hit submit. If it says completed, then you're all done with that section and you can move on to the next. It automatically saves your progress along the way, so you can log out and come back to it at any point in time as you work on your essays or work to gather any letters of recommendation that you have. And you can make edits up until the deadline of April 21st. When you're all done, at the bottom, this submit application button will turn yellow. If it's gray, it means that you've missed one of the required questions. You need to go back and finish it before you can hit submit. Once you hit submit, your dashboard will say application submitted, and you'll actually see a list of scholarships over here on the left that you can click on and see which ones you were eligible for. If you go back and make edits, you do have to click submit application again for your edits to be saved and updated for us to be able to review. So some general tips before you begin. We do highly encourage all students to complete their FAFSA or WASFA. This makes sure that you're being considered for other funding that might be available to you. We do ask questions about this on the application. So if you haven't yet filed your 26-27 FAFSA or WASFA, definitely go in and do that and get the process started. We highly encourage students to upload their unofficial transcripts. And so go ahead and go into CTC link and download that. It does not have to be an official transcript. We don't want you having to pay funds for an official transcript. Your unofficial transcript from CTC link is sufficient. If you are returning to school after a couple years break and you don't have access to your transcripts, that's okay. They're not required, but it is helpful for us to be able to review. Another thing we strongly encourage is having at least one letter of recommendation. This can be from somebody who has been a professor or a mentor to you. It could be an employer, someone you volunteered with. a coach. It could be anyone who knows you in a personal or professional setting, as long as it's not a family member or a close friend. You can reuse a letter of recommendation. So if you've requested one in the past for maybe a previous scholarship application or admission into a program, you can reuse it as long as it's from within the last 2 years or so. And then one of the biggest tips I can share is to really take your time on the essay portion of the application. This is really how you showcase who you are and how the people reviewing your application get to know you. And then it's a good idea to save those essay responses on, a Google Doc or a Word doc so that you can use them and edit them and upload them for future applications, whether that's through Olympic College Foundation or elsewhere, so that you don't have to start over from scratch every time you apply for scholarships. So what happens next? After the deadline of April 21st, we have scholarship review volunteers who start reviewing applications. We review all of our applications blind, meaning we remove your name, your contact information, and any personally identifiable information. So they're really seeing just basic information about what you're studying, how many credits you'll be taking, what year of school you're in, and then reviewing your essay responses. We have a standard scoring rubric that all volunteers are using so that we're looking at the same criteria for every student. And then each application is reviewed by 3 different volunteer reviewers, and their scores are average. That way we get a variety of insight into each student's application. We then have a selection committee made up of OC Foundation staff, including myself, some of our OC Foundation board members, and other staff here at Olympic College who make the final selections of each scholarship award. And then we notify students via email to whatever email you set up your AwardSpring account with. And that's typically in the first or second week of June. So next I'm going to take you over to the Olympic College website to navigate to the scholarship application and walk through how to get to some different resources we also have on our website. While I do that, does anyone have any questions? You can go ahead and put them in the chat while I navigate to that page. Okay, so far so good. Feel free to chat at any point in time if you have questions as we go. Okay, so from the Olympic College website, if you hover over this section here called Fund Your Education, you can page over here to scholarships. When you click there, this very top section in blue says OC Foundation Scholarships, and that's where you're going to click to get to the Olympic College Foundation website. On our website, there are 4 main tabs about scholarships. There's how to apply, some general scholarship information, FAQs and applicant resources, and then external scholarship opportunities. The page that is going to be probably the most helpful right off the bat is the FAQs and applicant resources page. On this page, we have answers to frequently asked questions. You can click on each question and drop it down to see the answer. Then we have some general tips on your application, tips on how to request a letter of recommendation, sample essay responses that can help you in writing your essays, and then some upcoming info sessions, workshops, drop-in Q&A sessions, and resources for where to reach out if you have questions after that. So this is a really helpful page. You can get to it from the scholarships tab up here at the top, applicant resources and FAQs. And if you have any questions, you can always email us at foundation@olympic.edu. When you're ready to apply, click on the How to Apply page, and it walks you through the process. You're going to create a free account on AwardSpring, start your application, submit your application, and complete any next steps for matching scholarships. If you click on any of these circles or you click down here, it's going to take you to AwardSpring to start your account. So this is what that page looks like. And you're going to get yourself logged in or set up your account. If you have never registered before, click register. And then when you sign in, it's going to welcome you and say that you have your application to complete. You can click apply right here, or you can click on the application right here. You'll be able to see the different sections along the side here. At the very top, we have application instructions and student acknowledgement. So I do recommend everybody reads through this information in detail. It just gives you some general information about the scholarship application process. That's helpful as you go through. Next, we have general student information. This is where we gather your name, your student ID number, your email, phone number, things like that. This is information that we use when we're awarding you, so we can contact you and let you know that you've received an award. But like I said previously, these applications are reviewed blind. So the scholarship review volunteers aren't going to see your email or your address or your contact information at all. This is just internal use. On the next page, we're collecting academic information. So the first question here is if you're graduating high school this academic year. If you say no, there's no further questions. But if you say yes, then there's a follow-up question asking if you're graduating from either Bremerton or Olympic High School. Then we ask what your academic status will be. So if you've already completed some credits, maybe you're currently a student, you're going to be taking classes winter and spring quarters, look at how many credits you approximately are going to take each of those quarters, and then that is what your academic status will be at the start of fall quarter 26-27. If you're a brand new incoming student and fall quarter of 26 is going to be your first time taking classes, either here at or at any other institution, you'll click New Incoming Student. If you've taken some Running Start classes in the past, or you've taken classes at a different college or university, go ahead and input how many credits you've taken previously. If you're in a bachelor's degree program, there is an option down here at the bottom for that as well. Then we ask how many credits you're going to be enrolled in during the 26-27 academic year. And this could change. You might not be sure yet if you're going to be full-time or part-time, or maybe one of the quarters you plan on being a little bit less than full-time. But generally, what you think you'll be enrolled in is what you want to click here. If you're awarded a scholarship that requires that you're in full-time course load, which is 12 credits or more, then we'll ask that you are enrolled in that every quarter in order to receive your scholarship payment for that quarter. So just be aware of that as you are selecting your option for your credit load, that it could impact what scholarships you're eligible for, or if awarded, it's going to impact what you need to be enrolled in each quarter in order to maintain your funding. Then we ask what degree or certificate you're working on. So if you're in a certificate program, click that. If you're working on an associate's, you can click that. If you're in a bachelor's program, click here. And then if you're in a transitional studies or a different program that's not listed, you can click one of those. Then we ask if you plan to complete a bachelor's degree. So that could be either at OC, one of our bachelor's programs we have, or if you plan to transfer to a four-year university after finishing your associates, then you would click yes. If you don't think you're planning on doing that right now, just click no. If you click yes, there is a follow-up question that's asked about if you're planning to earn a degree in any of these specific programs. And if that's none of the above, just click none of the above. Next, we ask for your cumulative GPA. So if you're a current student, you can find that at the bottom of your transcript in CTC link. If you are a high school student, you can find that on your high school transcript. If you are returning to school after a long gap and you don't remember your exact GPA, you can just use your best guess from your memory. The main thing to note is some scholarships are going to require that you maintain a certain GPA. So if you enter that you have a 3.2 and you're selected for a scholarship that requires you to maintain a 3.0 or above, you will have to maintain that GPA in order to get your funding each quarter. So make sure you're using your best guess of your most recent GPA if you are a returning student, or you're using the accurate current cumulative GPA you have in CTC if you are a current OC student. Next up, we're asking what areas of study you're interested in pursuing, whether that's here at OC or after you transfer to get a four-year degree. You can select more than one thing. So if you are studying healthcare, there are a few different options. For example, you can click health sciences, you can click medicine, you can click nursing. So you'll want to click all of the above. If you're interested in more than one field, maybe you're generally going towards an engineering degree, but you also really love art and you're going to be taking a couple of art classes, or you're involved in the band and you are going to be in the band ensemble, click those as well. Some of our scholarships are based on area of study. And if you are going to be taking classes and having a focus in more than one area of study, you'll want to click all that apply to you in that situation. If you're not sure what to answer here, you're welcome to reach out to me and explain kind of your circumstances, and I can help you figure out which options you should check. Then we ask which Olympic College campus you're going to be attending, and you'll want to select all that apply. So if you're mainly going to Bremerton, you're not going to be going to Shelton or Paulsbo, just click Bremerton. But if you're going to be taking classes at Shelton or Paulsbo as well, click those. If you're going to be a fully online student, select that as well. Next, we ask what high school you graduated from or will be graduating from. We list a lot of the local county high schools, but not all of them. So if you aren't finding it, scroll to the bottom and we have other Washington high school, out of state high school, or out of country high school. We also have an option for homeschool and GED program on here. And then if you have a prior degree, maybe you've already received an associate's degree for a different area of study and you're changing your career and going back for a new degree, you can click whatever degrees you've earned previously in this section. This next section is our essay portion. This is where you're going to want to take the most time to really answer all parts of the question. We have 3 essays, the academic and career goals essay, the financial need essay, and community engagement essay. And each one of these has multiple parts to it. You can see number 1, 2, 3, 4 questions in this one essay response. There's a minimum word count of 10 words, but a maximum word count of 700 words. You don't have to use all 700 words. As long as you're answering each question thoroughly, it doesn't matter how many words you use. We do ask that students submit these responses in their own voice, and I do recommend typing these up in a separate document so that you can check your word count, make sure that you're not going over the limit, and you can save your responses and edit them to use again in the future. Then we ask for some financial information. Some of our scholarships have a preference for students with higher levels of financial need. So this is how we discern who's the best fit for those types of scholarships. The first question is asking if you filed your FAFSA or WASFA. If you say yes, we ask for your student aid index. This can be found in your FAFSA submission summary. It's usually a number ranging from negative 1,500 to over 38,000 normally. If you didn't file your FAFSA, maybe you're not eligible for FAFSA or WASFA, you can change that answer to no, and it's just going to ask you why. Maybe you're an international student and not eligible to file. And then we ask if you're currently receiving any food aid like SNAP, DSHS, WIC, or TANF. If you say yes, there's no further questions about household income. If you say no or prefer not to say, then we ask some questions about your household size and estimated annual household income. This helps us determine financial need for those scholarships that do have a preference for students with greater financial need. So your household size is the number of people, including you, who are dependent upon the income below. And then this is your annual household income. If you're a dependent for the purposes of FAFSA or WASFA, then this is going to be your parents' annual income. So put that number in here. And if you're not sure, there's room to write some additional answer. You can write up to 100 words here. So if you feel like you kind of need to explain the situation a little bit further because there's not a clear-cut answer, you have room to do so. Next, we have some qualification questions. And some of these seem a little bit lengthy or redundant, but this is what really filters you into which scholarships you qualify for based on how you answer certain questions. So the first question is if you're in a healthcare program or if you're planning on going into the healthcare field. If you say no, there's no further questions. But if you say yes, then it asks you if you're currently in an OC healthcare program like the nursing program or behavioral health. If you say yes to that, then it asks which program you're in. and how far in the program you are. And if you say no, maybe you're just working on some prereqs right now, there's no further questions. Same thing with education. If you say yes, you're planning a career in education, then it's going to ask some follow-up questions about if you're planning on doing early childhood, elementary, or middle school education. And if you say no, none of those questions pop up for you. A couple of other questions here are about Prof Tech programs. So we list all the Prof Tech programs here. If you're not sure, scan through those to see if your program is in it. If you're in one of the organizational leadership programs, you'll indicate that here. And then there's some general questions about if you're a Mason County or Kitsap County resident, if you've done the transitional studies program, if you play any sports. We do have 2 scholarships for students that are going to be on one of the OC athletics teams. And then we have a question on if you're associated with the Grange or 4-H, specifically because one of our scholarships has a preference for students or who have either been involved in those or whose parents have been involved in those. So if you don't know what the Grange or the 4-H is, just mark none of the above here. But if you or your parents were in either of those rooms, you can mark that here. Next, we ask some demographic information just to get a better understanding of our student needs and the types of students who are applying for scholarships. So first, we ask if you're multilingual. That can mean maybe English is not your first language, or it can mean that you took 5, 6 years of a language and you're considered fluent in that language. We ask if you face housing insecurities or need assistance with meeting basic needs. If you've gone through a life transition, if you're a primary caretaker, if you're a veteran. So there's a lot of different questions here. You are welcome to say, prefer not to say for any that you don't feel like answering. That's completely fine. Then we ask for your uploads, and this is where you're going to upload your transcript and any letters of recommendation. So your transcript, like I said, is optional, but it does help you in the overall application scoring to have a transcript. So if you have access to a transcript, we highly encourage you to upload it here. So you can just click upload file and drag and drop that. Next, we have an option to upload letters of recommendation. You can upload up to 2, but there's no benefit to having more than 1. We just give you an option for 2 in case maybe one of your recommenders doesn't end up submitting it to you in time, then you've got the option to have a secondary one. You can either upload it directly. If you say, I have my first recommendation in hand, then a button's going to pop up to upload. If you need to request it, then you can use this form down below here. So you'll put the name and email of the person that you're requesting a letter of recommendation from, and then you will hit send request. And this sends them an email and they can directly upload their letter into your profile. So they get sent an email with a link. When they click that link, they're given a page to upload a document. They don't see any of your application responses. They can't edit your application at all. It just is a direct upload link that allows them to upload their letter. And you can customize the message that you send them to give them some more context. There's a little box here where you can type the message before sending the request. And then once you're on your last page, this is just some general information about next steps and understanding that these funds can only be used at Olympic College during the 26-27 academic year. Like I said, you can edit your application up until the deadline of April 21st. After that date, no edits can be made, including adding any uploaded letters of recommendation. So make sure your recommenders know about that April 21st deadline. Once you hit submit, it's going to take a few minutes to load because it's matching you with all of the scholarships that you qualified for. So just stay on this page, don't hit refresh. It'll take you to the dashboard in a moment. Then it's going to show you which scholarships you have follow-up questions for. And I'll show you that in a moment. But if you click over here on the scholarships tab, you can see all of the scholarships that we are awarding during this cycle. And you can see if you are applied for it, not qualified for it, or if you scroll down, you have a follow-up to complete for it. So when you click on that complete follow-up, you'll see some of these are essay questions where you have to write a short statement. Some of this is optional. So you can see This one says, please tell us about your volunteer community service involvement if you didn't describe it in any of your essay portions. It's optional because maybe you already spoke to that pretty in depth in your essays. And you can say, I spoke to this in my essay responses. If you just put anything there and hit submit, now you're going to be considered for that scholarship. But if you don't put anything and if you don't hit submit, then you're not considered for it. And we would hate for you to miss out on a possible funding opportunity. Even if it seems like something doesn't quite apply to you, for example, on this Puget Sound Energy Scholarship, there's this question asking if you have an interest in the energy or natural gas related sector. If that doesn't relate to you at all, maybe you're interested in STEM or engineering, but not specifically energy or natural gas, you can just write not applicable and hit submit. But if you didn't hit submit, then you're not going to be considered for that award. So make sure you go through these next steps and hit apply as needed. Sometimes these are difficult to see on a phone. So I do recommend just logging in from a computer when you have the opportunity and double checking that you don't have any next steps to complete. If you have any questions about why you maybe were eligible or not eligible for a scholarship, you're welcome to reach out to us and we can go over that in detail with you. And then, like I said, anytime you edit your application, hit submit again because that might update what scholarships you qualified for based on how you changed your answers and what the circumstances for that scholarship's criteria are. So I know we've gone over a lot of information. I'm going to pause here and see if anyone has any questions or if there's anything you want me to go back over in more detail on. Okay. So most importantly, what I can say is if you need support, go to the Olympic College Foundation website. We've got a lot of resources. Like I said, we've got some sample essay responses. We've got tips on requesting a letter of recommendation, and we've got links where you can set up a one-on-one meeting with me if you have follow-up questions that you want to go over in more detail. So reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm also going to put my email in the chat. So you can save that and contact me if you need anything. You're welcome to stay on for a few moments if you have questions. Otherwise, you guys are good to go and get started on your applications. I can't wait to start reviewing them, and I'm here if you need any help along the way. Thanks for joining today.